It's 50th anniversary videos!
Yay!
We've got cake! Look at this cake! That I forced my wife to not bite into just yet so she can hold it to camera. Go on, you can eat it. I don't think they heard that.
Yum, yum, yum.
Much better. Everyone!
There was cheesecake on the fork, and now there's not.
I'm Chris.
Ooh, I'm not Chris.
And welcome to our video podcast series, Doctor Who review. We're already done at the very beginning.
And Scooby-Doo.
We're up to the 50th anniversary era, and that means there's lots of extra tasty stuff to talk about. First up, though, a reminder for anyone who's joined this journey along the last 4 years. If you're thinking, are they going to talk about an adventure in space and time? We already have, brochachos. Go back to, I think it's our fourth video? Yeah, fourth video. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and then we did Doctor Who adaptations. We looked at, centred specifically around the 60s, so we looked at the two Peter Cushing movies.
We did.
And we looked at An Adventure in Space and
We
Time.
didn't watch them, we just looked at them.
No, we definitely watched them, because you hated them. Except for Bernard Cribbins in the second one. Yeah, because you spent the whole thing going, this isn't Ian and Barbara, that isn't Susan, what is this? He's not Doctor Who. And I'm like, yeah, he is though, he's Doctor Who.
Dr. Quaim.
A grandfather with a time machine in his back garden for reasons.
He was Dr. Quaim.
The most boring TARDIS interior ever.
But if you want to hear more about the boring TARDIS interior,
those movies are lovely. Anyway, they're their own thing. They're lovely. They recently got a 4K release as of this recording. Yeah.
What?
Oh, seriously, when you look at the side-by-side footage of like the DVD transfer and the 4K transfer, you're like, okay, that looks gorgeous because
who asked for this?
It was shot on film.
No, I know it was.
So it makes sense. It upgrades and upscales naturally.
Yeah, no, I know that. But...
And when you say who asked for this, it was right. So we're recording this July 2022. It was in cinemas last weekend for a limited run, a double bill.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
like for a limited events thing, and they were selling out.
Why?
Because to celebrate the 4K release.
No, I didn't.
There's steelbooks out. There's deluxe editions. Like they're doing well. They're a big seller.
Right.
But we also talked about...
I love Peter Cushing.
We also talked about... The Dalek props are probably the best they've ever looked, ever, in those movies. Well, claw hands.
I still suffer from Dalek fatigue.
Oh my god. Well, luckily for you! We also watched An Adventure in Space and Time, because obviously, we were very familiar with that. We've watched that multiple times over the last... 9 years for us, 10 years for when this video goes out.
Oh my gosh.
We've watched it multiple times over the last decade, haven't we? Yeah. Adventure in Space and Time. It's lovely. It's just a wonderful drama, and it's brilliantly done.
The acting in it is just spectacular.
The writing's lovely. It's clearly written with care. The direction's gorgeous. The casting is incredible across the board. So we did it at the time because we wanted to kind of experience it differently as we were about to watch William Hartnell's last couple stories at the start of Series 4. So before we do, let's watch the drama about the creation, and it starts out with Verity Lambert as the main character, and ends with William Hartnell as the main character, and about him having to move on, or being moved on, and it's a lovely it was a lovely time for us in our marathon to watch that with a unique perspective, because we were witnessing what was going on television in our marathon. At the same time, we were then watching this thing about what was happening behind the scenes. So, if you want to... But?
I was going to say, if you wanted to know more about what we thought about it...
I was going to say, go back to that video. It's like the third video in the playlist. Third or fourth video in the playlist.
I'll tell you what, I'm not biased. It's very good.
It's great. That was weird. Anyway, today we're talking about the two shorts that were released ahead of the 50th anniversary online within the week or so before. First up, we were living in a flat in October, November 2013. And what were you doing?
Just caught a shark.
Oh my god. This is why these videos get off track. She doesn't pay attention at all.
If anything, I paid too much attention.
Good lord. So
you did ask.
We were in a flat. I had an afternoon shift. I didn't have to go to work yet. It was a rare occasion where you were awake after having done a late night shift, so the two of us were up that morning together, just spending time together in the morning.
I would be insulted, but no, I did work late.
And I started watching this thing that just got up. Oh, there's a Doctor Who digital short. I was like, do you want to watch it? You went, that's all right. I think you were like making a cup of tea or whatever. So I said, do you want me to pause it or whatever? No, obviously, there've been a lot of these prequels. We've talked about them in past videos. A lot of prequels, digital shorts, Red Button exclusives. So we weren't expecting anything big. Probably the reason why you were like, I'm not fussed. Like, I'll just go make a brew. What noise did you hear coming from the bedroom about 30 seconds into this thing?
It was loud and high pitched. There was some weeping involved.
And this was just you making the cuppa and burning yourself on the water.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You were aroused. Okay, that last one's not true. What is it? No. So, yeah, very excited. Because you watched it not realising...
Well, I watched it the perfect time. I watched it the way everyone was meant to watch The Night of the Doctor.
At night.
Without knowing a damn thing about what it was about.
Yeah.
Because obviously within a few hours, people had figured out what it'd be about without watching it, because it was trending everywhere.
Oh, it's a shame that, isn't it?
And it was released earlier than planned as well. It was released coincidentally on Paul McGann's birthday.
Oh, spooky.
But the belief is, I'm sure someone knows the story better than I do, put it in the comments if so.
Right.
The belief is that someone was about to leak what it was. So they were like, can we put it out tomorrow? Yeah. Oh, it's Paul's birthday tomorrow. Brilliant. We'll just say that it's like, sod it.
That's so sad.
But, what a lovely coincidence though. Like, oh, well, if we have to put it out tomorrow, at least it's also Paul McGann's birthday, so what a nice little...
Yeah, I guess.
Probably ruined his birthday because his phone had been blowing up all day. Like, people keep getting in touch with me. I just want to have a nice meal in this restaurant, in this cafe.
That must be so annoying if you've put so much effort into something, obviously, and then you've maybe put a lot of effort into the the
security around it all.
Not just that though, like the publicity of it afterwards. If you've done. So like posters, not posters for a shot, would it be? But like, I don't know, maybe like a little advert online. You'd have to change all of that.
Well, luckily the point of this was they didn't put too much of that stuff in, because it was meant to surprise everyone. It was meant to just be. There's going to be a short film coming out tomorrow online. Oh, cool!
You've got to change your plans because somebody has stolen it and is going to put it out there.
This is like the least example of that has happened to modern Doctor Who.
I know, just
specifically during the Moffat era.
Just in general, it just seems real shady. I mean, of course it's shady, but it just seems really mean.
I love this short a lot. I think it is weirdly some of Moffat's strongest writing. As a writer, not necessarily for Doctor Who or whatever, but because it's got 6 minutes and 49 seconds to make its point, and it does it so expertly. Do you know what I mean? It's concise, it's to the point, but it breathes. It's not rushing. It's not rushing through it. It's not going get this out, get this out, get this out, get this out. It never feels like it's being hurried along.
No.
Except for when it needs to narratively. Where we're introduced to the idea of you're only going to be alive for a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. Make a choice. So even then, the one bit where it is underlay, is built into the narrative.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like the special's rushing. It feels like, oh, right, come on, he's got to make a call. We get to see Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor on screen for the second ever time.
Yeah. And he looks great.
Yeah, it's Paul McGann.
Yeah, but his costume is not that flamboyant.
I love the costume.
Edwardian kind of.
But there's the suggestions are there. It seems to be the same coat, or implying to be a similar coat. Mm. I know it's a different one because it's got different breasts on it and everything. But it's still waistcoat, little accessory things. Like there's an ascot involved.
Yeah,
but it's a lot. It's a lot less. It's a lot less. Mark Twain.
Yeah,
and a lot more like Les
Indiana
Mis.
Jones. Oh.
Oh, I was going to say it's a lot more like like look at that. Like, come on, he's on the barricade.
Do you hear the Daleks sing?
He's ditched the shoes. They may have fit perfectly, but now he's got boots.
I like those boots. I would like to wear them.
He's still got curly hair, this time his own, and not a wig.
And it's shorter, and I mean, it obviously he's aged, but...
Paul McGann ages like a sexy wine.
Like a fine, fine wine.
Like a fine-ass wine.
I wouldn't want to drink an ass wine, but, you know, the sentiment's there. But, yeah, obviously the Doctor will have aged very slightly, and this is much further into his lifetime.
He's been up to stuff.
Doctor, yeah. I just think it looks really, really good. So, like, he looks spot on.
Obviously playing him at Big Finish in the, like, nearly 20 years between appearances would have kept him very well connected to where this character is in his repertoire, his skill set. But keep in mind, vocal performance and on-camera performance are two different things. You instantly buy that this is the same bloke you saw running around in the TV movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's
immediately him. You're like, oh my god, he's back, and it's about time. TV movie joke there. Anyway, it's so lovely to see him. Holy sh! It's so lovely to see him in this. The notion of Cass, played by Emma Campbell-Jones, is played out brilliantly, because this begins with oh my god, is this like the start of a Doctor Companion story?
Yeah.
No. Because with her actions, the fact she's willing for the ship to crash and die and kill them both, than get in a TARDIS and travel with the Time Lord, even just to safety, immediately speaks volumes about what the Time War has done to the galaxy and how everyone is feeling about both sides of the war.
Yeah.
Again, really, really brilliantly structured writing from Moffat in terms of setting up what everything means, and everything in this has a function and a purpose, but setting the world you're in.
Yeah.
So it's set sometime long into the Time War, or at least a decent ways into it. Everything's ravaged to shit. Chunks of the galaxy have been affected by it all. And the Doctor, we learn from this, has been staying on the fringes. He's been going around helping out where he can, but has been avoiding the conflict itself. When he dies in this crash, which again says so much about him. He doesn't escape. He stays with her because he's obviously, the entire time before they crash, he's probably trying to convince her to come with him. But he doesn't leave her. And it leads to his death. And if it wasn't for where they show up, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
Luckily, question mark for him, they land on Khan.
So can I just ask?
Yeah.
If he hadn't have landed there...
If the Sisterhood of Khan hadn't found him...
Yeah.
And got to
would
him,
he not have regenerated?
No, because you can die outright.
Yeah, I know.
He was beyond repair. He was dead.
Oh, right.
Because he crashed, like, full on, ship plant into the surface of a planet. He's dead.
But he looked great for it.
Well, they brought him. They resuscitated him for a temporary moment. We go back to Khan, which obviously when you first watched this, you were just like, oh right, okay, it's like potion lady, sure. Since then, one of your favourite Doctor Who stories has become the Brain of Morbius.
Love it.
So,
it's amazing.
Keepers of the Flame of Eternal Boredom, Eternal Life, same thing. Love it. Love that he's now just sort of like, it's you lot. It's you lot. Bloody hell.
That's pretty good.
And they're kind of like, obviously they didn't leave off in a good place in the Brain of Morbius per se. The Sisterhood were, like, he kind of helped reset them at the end and get back on even ground, but they were basically the secondary villains of that story. This is how desperate everyone's become in the Time War. They see him returning as an opportunity to create someone that can help, hopefully, fight the war, if not end it.
Yeah. And
they offer him regeneration, the regeneration science is boosted. The regeneration stuff is boosted by the Sisterhood's sciences, their potions, which of course we learned in Brain of Morbius. That was the whole thing around that. About Time Lords continuing their life and everything. And so they're like, right, we've got a boatload of options here. Pick. We can help you regenerate. We've suspended your death for several minutes so that you can choose something to regenerate into, like with our help.
I like what she said. It was something like, you have very few breaths left. Choose them wisely.
Yeah, it's like try not to use them up. Or yeah. Well, that's the thing, because he's obviously like balking at them, and it's like 4 minutes. You can do so much in 4 minutes. Run me a bath, like whatever. It's like they'll bring me knitting and everything. And it's just like, yeah. Oh god, he slides back into the role so perfectly. He's so
quite
good.
sassy, isn't he?
He's great.
It's a bit of a sassy pants.
He's so regretful of Cass's death because they managed to find the body, and yeah, they inquire like, is there anything you can do for her? And they're like, no. But you're a Time Lord. Like, we have the option to push your regeneration at least. And Ophelia, she's called. Sorry, not Ophelia. Wrong character. Ohila. No. Ohila. Yeah, Ohila. Played by Claire Higgins, making her debut. First appearance of the character. She will return. She instantly says everything she needs to say with her casting, performance and everything. The script. She's great.
Yeah.
She's really, really good. And she's just like, look, you know, what was it? I help out where I can. It's like healer, like wise man or whatever. And I can't remember the exact exchange, but she says, like, they're the same in your mind. And he goes, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Which makes point of being like, yeah, well, guess what? That's not what the war needs. It doesn't need someone bandaging everybody up. It needs someone to fight it.
Well, they might have needed that.
So she's pushed him essentially into thinking, you're right. Like, my entire philosophy, my entire, like, way of doing things is not going to help stop this. But maybe it can if I change how I approach everything. And he chooses to become a warrior.
It made me think of, like, choosing your Keyblade.
Yeah, it's very like choosing your class at the start of an RPG, isn't it? In the Day of the Doctor novelisation, which incorporates this into it, Stephen Moffat reveals, in that version of the story anyway, that the brew is actually just lemonade with dry ice in it. It's all completely up to him.
Is that safe?
No, I mean in the fictional...
Oh, right.
The target novelisation of this story.
Sorry.
Ohila has basically made some lemonade and dry ice. And
so it's like a placebo.
It's all... Well, no, it's not a potion that changes him. It's all up to him how he changes. Like, they're aiding his regeneration.
Oh,
but it's not like a special warrior potion. It's literally just lemonade. Which I don't like. It's one of the few things in the novelisation I don't like. Even though the novelisation of Day of the Doctor is utterly superb and brilliant from start to finish.
Wait, so...
Night of the Doctor is adapted into that as part of the story.
So the Doctor could, like, regenerate...
No, they still use potions to bring him back to life, but then he wasn't drinking a potion that would turn him into a warrior. Him, like, choosing that is what led him to then regenerate. Exactly, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense as a gag, because you're like, I thought the potion was also helping the regeneration happen. Because he was dead. Yeah, well, I guess the implication is, no, the one they used to revive him meant that he was just alive, and she was bullshitting him, basically. But whatever. I love that he salutes his friends. Specifically, all Big Finish audio characters. The first explicitly canon thing in the main show where they've gone, oh, that Big Finish stuff, the 8th Doctor stuff at least.
Yeah, that's canon.
Yeah, that happened. It's like, what?
I want to see that stuff.
But even if it's not the same versions, like even if you just decide, well, hang on, no, Big Finish is sort of like separate continuity because it's not the main one, so it could be affected any time by the decisions the show makes. You can still take up the idea of, yeah, but he's obviously had adventures with those characters in the main canon anyway. It might just be different. And I like that. I think that's really sweet. And I love that the last person he mentions is Cass, like there in front of him. To Cass, I apologise. Physician, heal thyself. Paul McGann leaves us as quickly as he returned and regenerates into a Photoshop John Hurt reflection.
Bilbo Baggins.
He does look a bit Bilbo-y,
He looked like
a hobbit. Even though that's not the role John Hurt played in a Lord of the Rings movie. You're now thinking...
John Hurt played...
You're thinking, hang on, he's in a Lord of the Rings... Yeah, the Ralph Bakshi animated one. He was the voice of Aragorn.
Way.
You know, back
I've
when he
never
was
seen
like
that.
back when he was like 32, but still sounded like a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
I love Night of the Doctor. I think it's great. And this cake.
It loves you too.
Now, had you seen The Last Day before?
No.
What did you think of The Last Day?
The one with those soldiers.
Yeah, Chris Finch playing a Time Lord soldier who we then see again very briefly in Day of the Doctor, which is a nice little touch.
What?
Like, it's a nice little touch, because it's sort of like you could have picked anyone, but they went, let's pick the guy from the short.
Where?
Because then you can be like, oh, he survived that attack.
Where was it?
So it's set at the top of a tower in the Gallifreyan city of Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Which we've heard mentioned a lot in the in the Russell era. They mentioned the fall of Arcadia as a pivotal day in the Time War.
Oh, thank you, miniature.
For context, for people who can't see what's happening in this room, i.e. everyone, our dog just knocked her phone off the couch.
Thank you, Min.
So we've heard of Arcadia before, and we've heard of the fall of Arcadia being a pivotal thing. So we've heard all these things, the Jaws of the Nightmare Child, all these different the Medusa Cascade, all these things that have been described from the Russell era. Moffat.
Sorry, I put my feet in your cake.
Fortunately, doesn't ruin any of the mysticism of that stuff. But unfortunately, for him, he has to explain what some of those things are if he's about to set a story in the final days of the Time War.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in the next video, obviously, but The Last Day is interesting because we know from the Master, from the Series 3 finale, that the Time Lords were resurrecting their greatest warriors to fight in the conflict, and how people were dying over and over again. The Daleks were slaughtering Time Lords.
That's so grim.
And obviously what's happening? Those Time Lords are regenerating and having to fight again. People dying from a Dalek gunshot over and over again.
Am I imagining things, or did the Daleks used to, explode people?
I can't remember them ever exploding anyone. They've exploded stuff, but when they hit people, it's that X-ray beam.
X-ray thing.
Because basically you're shot with a deadly dose of radiation.
Oh, I thought I took it as
we've
electrocuted.
We've had ones with, again, it's a spacey weapon. So in Dalek, he fires the sprinklers and then he fires into the water and it electrocutes everybody.
Ow.
And we had that one in, was it Day of the Daleks or Planet of the Daleks or whatever, Death to the Daleks, where it had literally just a machine gun instead of a gun. Do you remember that? It was packing. That Dalek was packing. Special weapons Daleks fires like a heat cannon, like an explosion tank round or whatever.
Whisks.
But
Make a mean flambe.
We are getting off topic, and this camera's going to die. So, The Last Day, is a great idea of let's show what it was like from the front line from a Gallifreyan who's been recruited as a soldier.
Yeah.
The implication I find for the fact that he can't speak just yet, obviously it's a practical thing. It's because we are seeing it in first person, which is something that makes this a really interesting short.
Mm.
We are in the POV of a character who's in the Time War.
Yeah.
The implication is that, you can't talk just yet after they've put this chip in your brain to help record what's going on for the war. And then in the event of your death, we can clarify to your family what happened to you. And it also gets censored. They mention that language will be censored, bad language will be censored.
Yeah.
And then he says a thing and it cuts to the next bit. So
bad language,
Yeah. And then it also says that the screen's drowned out in red to prevent the viewing of any violence for anyone watching the tape back. So the implication, I guess, is that we are someone who is watching this back later. But the fact that he doesn't talk isn't just we can't have him talk because then it kind of breaks the verisimilitude for the viewer of it being them in that position.
Yeah.
Video game first person syndrome, the whole thingy, self-insert ideology. I think, and I've had this in my head the whole time because there's little clues. I think this is a resurrected Gallifreyan. I think they've either been brought back to life out of the Master, and they're not the only one. Loads of people are being brought back to try and fight, or they've recently regenerated. probably from dying in the Time War. So they're not quite used to their bearings. They're having to be really like told what everything is.
That's cool.
And then you have this whole thing where he says like people, you might hallucinate a bit, get these little flashes. Don't listen to what anyone's been saying. They're not premonitions, which is an odd thing to say at first because you're like, oh, is it a suspicion? Or you might have these hallucinations. I think it's what happens to us in the future.
Mm.
But then we see, yeah, it is, which is a very like unique Time Lord kind of horror concept. That the visions they're having because they're on a planet that is like a society that's built around like time travel and space travel and everything. They're not just hallucinating. They are seeing horrific visions of terrifying stuff that's going to happen to them soon. Including the fact that he's going to die because when they see their own reflection briefly, it's like a skeletal face in the helmet. And it's like, oh my God, that's so good. Yeah, I think The Last Day is a really, really cool little addition.
Yeah. I thought of it as...
showing how the start of that final battle is. Like one Dalek makes it through the sky trenches.
It doesn't look
and that's
great,
enough.
Though.
Yeah, it looks a little tacked on.
It's a little ropey. But
it's not bad CGI, but it's there for too long.
Yeah.
It kind of needs to be graded or filtered a little bit more. It needs to be further in the distance. But I like the idea that like Sky Trench can keep out anything. There are 400 of them up there. Our job is just to make sure if we see anything starting to get through, we let the Citadel know and the next wave of defence will begin.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, let's just have a little practice. Look at that bird. Oh God, it's a Dalek. Oh God, it's more of them. They're already here. Oh crap. And then...
That scared me a little bit.
What, when they started firing and the guy's like screaming at the camera and stuff?
Yeah, the guy was like, oh my God. It can't be. They're already here. It's like, ooh, that's horrible.
It'd make a great start to a Time War video game, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess.
First person shooter, fighting Daleks off.
I mean, I wouldn't play it because, the Dalek fatigue. But
if anything, you'd enjoy it. You can shoot them.
Well, nah.
I really like these two shots.
I thought of it as, oh, is he some kind of android? Because he was, saying the camera in his eye and the membrane, memory card.
No, they just performed surgery on you to get you ready for the fight.
And then when you told me your theory, I was like, ugh, that's really gross.
Well, at least they didn't tell him he was an android, even though he was their brother, and keep him around. And Christ, Journey's the centre of the TARDIS.
Story.
These weren't bullshit, though, were they?
No, they were great.
They're really, really cool.
I felt like, unlike the previous, what are they called?
It's prequels and...
Prequels.
Yeah.
It actually added something to it.
That's a nice little anticipation and build-up for what you're about to watch.
Like, if you don't know what happened, that would be... Wow, imagine. That would be really scary.
What do you guys think of The Night of the Doctor and The Last Day? I have a feeling the comments are going to be more about The Night of the Doctor. But let us know what you think of The Last Day as well. We really dug these two. They were a great introduction to what was about to happen, which coincidentally is what we're going to talk to you about in the next video. Tune in next time for the Day of the Doctor.
Tune in next time.
Same doc time, same doc channel. I'm going to press the button now.
Bye.